Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. I am Gordon with This Is How I Did It. On this video today, we're going to talk about solar systems, and we're going to start at the beginning, the basics of it. This is for all those people that are looking into solar but really don't know where to start. So we're going to dive into that. The first thing we're going to dive into, oh, and hey, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe for more videos. We're looking at doing water wheels and roofing and pool filters. I mean, we do all kinds of stuff on here. Anyway, the first things we're going to talk about are the three different systems you can put in. What they call them. There's on-grid, off-grid, and then a hybrid system. These are all solar systems. So an on-grid system means that you are feeding commercial power. I mean, you're feeding power back to the commercial company, to a commercial power company. So you have a solar system up on your roof. Maybe you have 9, 12, 15 panels, whatever, up on your roof. Those all go into the grid and feed power back to the grid. Now, there's two things that I don't like about the on-grid system. I mean, the on-grid system has its place, and it is actually it's a great system that the power companies actually give you. But the two things that you will need to know about is, number one, if the commercial power goes out, your solar system stops creating power, which means your house has no power. So if commercial power gets cut because of a car wreck or a tree comes down across the line, or they just even shut off the power because they're the fear of fire, forest fire. So they shut off the grid, so you have no commercial power. Your solar system will also shut off because they don't want you producing power and putting it back out on the lines to where a lineman that's working on the main power, the commercial power lines, could get shocked from actually your house producing power. So that's why they shut off the power. So that's number one. Number two is most commercial power companies will not give you money. They'll give you credits. So basically, you build up credits in the summer, which is a great way to do this. You build up credits during the summer, and then in the winter, when you use more power, in the summer, if you're using air conditioning or whatever, you build up all these credits, and then they apply those credits towards your power bill. Now, the problem with our place here in Oregon is we have Portland General Electric, PGE Electric. They give you these credits, but every year they wipe your account clean. So any credits you have, they wipe them out in, I think it's March is the default month. They wipe them out and they give those credits to people that need the credits to pay their bill. So basically all the credits you built are gone and you start over every year. That's on-grid power, or they also call that net metering. That's what's net metering is what it's called. Okay, that's on grid. Off grid means that you have no commercial power tied into your system whatsoever. You have usually a battery backup. Oh, and on grid, you don't need a battery backup. It's just solar panels, an inverter, a main shut off, so that people can, a fire department or something could actually shut off the line from outside without you being home. The off grid is you have usually a battery bank to run your system at night. You have to have pretty good supply of solar power or hydropower or something to keep the system running. In Oregon, an off grid system is up here in the Northwest. Basically, it would be really hard to get enough sunlight in the summer. In the winter, to actually run an off grid system, unless you had some other sort, like I said, hydro, a creek or something, to keep stuff in water, wind. So that's off grid. A hybrid system, though, uses hybrid system uses commercial power and solar, and you can tie in water, you could tie in wind, anything to these systems. Okay, but a hybrid system. So on our system, for example, we have a battery bank, we have solar panels up on the roof, and then we have the inverter, and it produces electricity like it's supposed to, right? Well, if our solar panels do not create enough power Let's say in the winter, let's say there's snow up on the roof and the panels are covered with snow, so they're not creating any power, right? So if that was an off-grid system, we'd have to start a generator to boost the panel to boost the batteries. On grid, you're not getting nothing because you'd be using your credits. But on a hybrid system that is tied to your commercial power, and when I say it's tied to it, it means it takes power from the commercial power. Okay, not doesn't feed back out to it, takes it away. So the hybrid system, if there's snow up on the panels and it's not creating any solar energy to charge the batteries, the inverter will automatically flip over the transfer switch inside the inverter and use the commercial power to charge those batteries back up to full, and then turn it back off. Turn the auto switch back off so you're not taking commercial power anymore. Then you're back to running on the batteries, and it will do that until whenever it needs it, it will do it. That is a hybrid system, and that is what we have. So anyway, guys, in the video, we're going to go start at the beginning with needing which voltage system you're going to pick, and then panels, and then combiner boxes, wiring stuff in series, and then parallel, and we're going to cover all kinds of stuff in it. So guys, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe for more. Let's get on with it. Thanks. Okay, so this video is for solar panel for beginners. That's what we're going to call this. When you put a solar system on your house, the first thing you need to decide is what voltage you're going to run your inverter and your battery bank. That's where you start. You find out that is your first thing, voltages. So then you can start looking at solar panels. Solar panels come in 12 volt, 24 volt, and 48 volt. And that all depends on what inverter and what bank you're going to use. Everything has to be the same voltage. Charge controllers, all that stuff. So these are 48 volt. As you hook up multiple panels, you will wire them to meet the specs of your charge controller or your inverter. So our charge controllers, for example, are 48 volt and they handle 5200 watts and 250 volts. Now this is all DC talk, okay? DC talk. So if I have these panels and they're 550 watts each, on a nice sunny day, they will create 500, they should create about 550 watts each per day. So if I need to keep the voltage, and the voltages are about 52 volts, 49 to 52 volts on these when they're up and running. So that means I got to keep, for my charge controller, I have to keep these below, at their peak when it's hot and sunny out, I need to keep them below 250 volts and 5200 DC watts of solar panel input on the charge controller. So that means I have to wire them in series and then parallel up in a combiner box. These boxes down here at the end of the building, those are combiner boxes, and I'll explain that in a second. So the way I did this is I took these bottom 4 panels and I wired these 4 in series, which means I'm going to take the hot on that side to the cold here, and then this cold negative to this positive, and I ran a negative, a jumper from here up to here, so that's negative to positive, negative on this side to positive on this side, and then from here it goes all the way up to the combiner box, and from down there the hot side goes all the way up to the combiner box way down there. Okay, those are called PV wiring, PV combiner boxes. Okay, so that's the first set. So I can get 8 panels on one combiner box. I'm sorry, I can get 8 panels on one charge controller, and I'll be under the limit of the charge controller, meaning I'll have a little bit of buffer space to play with. So I'm not overloading the charge controllers. So on the second set, I did the same thing. On that one right there, it jumps from that corner there to this one. So negative to hot. And then right here on this one, negative jumper cable up here to this one to hot. and then negative on this side to the hot side here. And then this negative on this side of the panel goes up and goes all the way down to the same combiner box that this one's in. So it has that combiner box down there has multiple inputs, a fused breaker, and then I have off of that one over there would be that one, right? No, that one. Right there, there's another jumper that comes up. The hot side comes up, and a wire runs all the way to the combiner box. So let's show you that combiner box. The combiner box takes all the energy we have going and goes into this combiner box. So let's open this up, and I should have done more research before I did this because I got too big of combiner box. It doesn't matter, but I got 4 empty spots that I'm not using because my charge controllers can't handle it. I could have went with the smaller ones and saved a lot of money. So anyway, this is number A. So the first set is right here, comes in right here. The second set comes in right here. Those are then going into these fused breakers here. This is a main shutoff breaker. This up here is a surge protection. So if there's lightning or something wrong, that would pop. So that is a combiner box, okay? Then out of the combiner box, you got wires, PV wires, what they call them. Those go down below to the charge controllers. Okay, so on the second set of 8 panels, so we had our first set of 8, which went to the combiner box number 1. The second set you'll wire them exactly the same. Wire the first 4 in series, run them all the way to the combiner box number 2, and then run the second set of 4 in series, run those to the second combiner box, and then that combiner box will make them parallel, and then go down into the charge controllers. A couple more things I want to add about solar panels. You're going to find a lot of used panels, and you'll find a lot of just Harbor Freight selling, everybody's selling these panels, right? So the thing you're going to notice is the wattage. You'll find them from 100 watts to 700 watts, you know. These are one-sided panels. We have them where they're bifacial, where they have panels on both sides. Obviously, those would not work on a roof. Those would be for more like a ground array, you know, down on the ground, where it reflects up off of something like some white rock or something that are underneath them. But solar panels, the wattage is very important. We have about 17,000 watts of solar panels up here, which means if I was to get those in even 200 watt panels instead of 550 watt panels, I would have at least double. I have like 64 panels up here. So, or more than that probably. Anyway, we have 32 panels, 550 watts each. And that basically will cover my whole roof that we can put up here. The other thing is used panels. You'll be able to find used panels around about, but I tell you, I bought a pallet, which was 32 panels for $6,900. Breaking that down, $6,900 divided by 32 panels is $215 a piece. And they're brand new with a warranty. You buy a used panel, there's no warranty. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know. It's buying a used panel is really a gamble, really. They're not up on somebody's roof for a reason. Either they had to re-roof the house and just didn't put them back up, or whatever. So anyway, buying used panels, just think about what you're doing. Like these are Sun Gold Power, 550 watts, and like I said, bought a pallet of them, and they're $215 a piece. The bigger the wattage, the less you need to have, and the less room, obviously. So it's less for the mounting system. It's less
It's less. It's just less. So anyway, that's all I want to add about solar panels.
Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about on solar panels is the cleaning of them. Just take a hose up or on the roof or whatever. Just hose them down once a week, once every 2 weeks. Just keep the dust off of them. That will help immensely with your production. Okay, so we're talking about charge controllers now. These are PV wires that come down from the solar panels. They come into the charge controllers. The charge controller's basic job, if you have a battery bank, the charge controller's job is to make sure that you do not overcharge the batteries. Okay, so when the sun's up and the solar panels are producing power, these are monitoring the battery bank, and if the battery bank is full, these will limit the amount of power that they will output to this battery bank. Okay, so these knobs down here are basically just shut-offs from the solar panel to these, so I can work on them. I can kill them. I can kill it here. This is the feed from the charging side of everything. This is just bus bars where all these are plugged into this bus bar. And out of the bus bar with this wire, this 2-watt wire, hits this 400 amp breaker, and it goes down and feeds the charge side of this. And then there's another side that comes out and feeds this 400 amp breaker, which is going up to the solar panel. To the solar inverter. So that is what these do. If you do not have a battery bank, if you're going to feed into the grid and you're not planning on being, off grid, you just want to do net metering, you do not need these. Not necessary. You will basically, if that's the case, if you're doing on grid, you will have your wires come down from your solar panels. They will plug directly into an inverter that is built to do that. And then out of that inverter, you'll have AC lines that come in and feed into a breaker in your panel. But before you do any of that, make sure that you contact your commercial power company and make sure that they actually allow it. And, of course, follow all the permits and everything. They will make you follow the permits. So that is how an on-grid or a net metering system works. You do not need these. You just have your solar panels up on the roof that come in and feed right into an inverter that's built for it. So then there's off-grid systems that has no commercial power whatsoever, right? Commercial off-grid systems are just out of the inverter straight in to feed whatever outlets you have in your house. And of course, for an off-grid system, you would need a battery bank, which means you would need solar charge controllers. Okay, and then the next thing is a hybrid system. This is a hybrid system. What that means is this inverter has a charger in it. So if the solar panels do not create enough power in the winter, per se, in a snowstorm or something, and they're not producing any power, the commercial power, I have a breaker in here. This breaker basically comes out of that breaker, goes in the wall, and it comes in and it feeds input into this inverter, okay, this hybrid inverter. So basically what that means is we have snow up on the roof, the solar panels aren't working because they're covered with snow. The inverter says, hey, our batteries are getting low, we need power. So it'll switch over in here automatically and say, hey, turn on the commercial power, and that will turn on the commercial power in the unit and turn on the charger that's built into this thing. And this has a 100 amp, 0 to 100 amp charger in it. There's a dial down here on the bottom. You can adjust that. I have it turned down pretty much all the way because I want my solar panels to do all the work. If it has to run, I don't want it to run full blast. So basically, it says, hey, we need power to charge these batteries when the batteries get really, really low. So it'll automatically switch to turn on, I can't remember what they call it, but it's a power charge, I think so, actually, the light that comes on, I think. Anyway, it switches over inside automatically. It turns on the AC charger inside this, and then it pumps out power out of here, in through and back into the batteries, charges the battery. And at the same time, it is also still running off the DC side of this. So it's basically charging the batteries and it's taking power back out of the batteries to keep the house running. So this is a hybrid. It works really well. Like I said, this system will not backfeed for on-grid. At least this system that I have, it's no frills. It will not feed back. So like if it was all fully charged and everything running good, it does not put power back out of these to the commercial. It just takes it from the commercial power. So in a nutshell, I hope I covered enough of what you guys might be asking. Charge controllers are only needed if you have a battery bank. And if you have a battery bank, then they're needed. Sometimes the inverters have the charge controller built into them, but you really got to make sure the specs that you don't overload the input wattage. Because like I say, each one of these are $500 a piece. And they're big. Each one of them will produce 100 amps DC output to charge these batteries. So when the sun's up, these batteries charge really fast. But they will only handle 5,200 watts input off the solar panels. That's DC power. So like this, most inverters probably about the same as one of these. So you really got to make sure you're doing your math and double checking all the specs to make sure you don't overload anything. And always use proper size wiring. Otherwise stuff can get hot and fire is not good, right? And then also plan on a backboard. I have plywood behind this, so I can mount everything into the plywood. But this is all fireboard. Definitely want fireboard. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I think I've rambled on long enough. I think hopefully you got the idea what we're doing here. Thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button for more. Have a good day.